The bet that ended in his bed. Some wine, a lousy bet, and a few hours later, I'm pinned against the wall. How did we get this far? And why is he such a good kisser? It started around 7 p.m., opening the first bottle of wine and ordering 2 large pizzas. By the time they arrived an hour later, we'd downed 2 bottles, with a third already open. Friday nights at the fraternity apartments were full of stupid, drunken ideas. This one shouldn't have been different, until my genius brain blurted out, "I bet you can't make me blush," I told Caleb, grinning. He stopped scrolling his phone, eyebrows raised, lips curving into a dangerous smirk. "Is that so?" He set his phone aside. "All right, game on." The bet initially felt harmless, just another silly competition between 2 friends who had spent countless weekends teasing and outsmarting each other. But under my bravado, my pulse raced. Caleb wasn't just any guy. He was charming, confident, and infuriatingly good-looking. The type who turned heads and broke hearts without even trying. I wasn't blind. I'd seen the way he flirted, effortlessly drawing people in with his easy smile and lingering touches. I'd heard the rumors too. Whispers of hookups and fleeting romances, none of which seemed to leave a dent in his carefree demeanor. So why had I challenged him? Maybe it was the wine. Or maybe it was how he leaned back on the couch like he already knew he could win. "That shirt suits you," he said. I snorted. "You're gonna have to do better than that. Your hair looks good today. Did you do something different?" "Yeah, I woke up," I shot back. "You are terrible at this." By the 3rd bottle, his tone had shifted, the teasing turning sharper. Midway through a ridiculous reality show, he turned to me with the casualness of a weather update. "You know, you're actually kinda hot." I choked on my drink. "Kind of what?" "Very hot," he said, leaning back, grinning like he hadn't just flipped my world. I threw a pillow at him. "Shut up." "What? Am I wrong? Or are you blushing already?" The tension lingered. His next words, softer, cut through the air. "Your eyes sparkle when you talk about stuff you love. Did you know that?" "What?" I blinked, losing our unspoken blinking game. "When you're excited about something," he said steadily, "your whole face lights up. It's cute." I laughed awkwardly. "You don't need to make things up. Just admit you lost." "I'm not." "I notice things, Dylan," he replied, unreadable. "Drunk or not." I turned back to the TV, my thoughts a mess. His words had struck something raw, and no amount of cheap wine could shake it. We debated reality show plot twists and weekend plans, the tension melting into laughter. But I caught him stealing glances, his expression unreadable. When he stood, stretching, he yawned dramatically. "Time for me to hit the shower. Don't complain about my manly musk again." "Please," I teased, rolling my eyes. "Like you need an excuse to show off your abs." He winked. "You know you love it." While he showered, I cleaned up, his distant hum oddly soothing. But when he reappeared shirtless, towel slung low, I froze. "See? Such a show-off," I managed. His grin felt like a trap. Before I could escape, he cornered me against the counter, his hands on my waist, heat radiating between us. "Caleb," I began, lifting a hand to push him away. But his hands grabbed my chin, and he basically growled. "Give me your mouth," he demanded, and moved before I could think. Kissed me so rough and so suddenly that all I could do was to give in to my instincts, hugging him back, feeling his still fresh and cold body against mine, while his tongue dominated mine. His hand grabbed my waist even tighter, and I moaned inside his mouth as the other swam inside my hair, making me incapable of leaving his grip. I could feel my lower parts heating, and I felt embarrassed and comfortable at the same time because he was touching mine with the same hardness. My mind raced, and he finally pulled off, letting us breathe. I was shocked by the mirrored desire in his eyes, and I could feel my cheeks heating. He smirked. "I guess I finally made you blush." "Yes, you did, you drunkard," I said, trying to act cool. "But don't let it go to your head." His smirk widened as he grabbed my waist with both hands, gluing our bodies again. "Of course not. We'll go to my bed." "What?" He kissed me again, and I gave up on any thoughts. I was drunk. He was drunk. I was feeling stuff I hadn't felt in a long time. I jumped, and he caught me with no difficulty. And as I melted inside his mouth, he did, in fact, take me to his bed. The next morning, when I woke up, things felt off. The room was too quiet, with sunlight slipping through the blinds exactly upon my eyes. His bed was empty except for me, and his clock read 11 a.m., making me feel like I'd overstayed somewhere I didn't belong. I slipped off like a thief, careful not to make any sound, my chest pounding with something I refused to name. As I entered the kitchen, Caleb was there, leaning against the counter with a mug of coffee. Casual. "Morning," he said, pouring me some coffee. I took some headache pills we saved up in the drawers and tossed a couple into mine before offering him some. "Thanks," he muttered. We stood in a silence far from comfortable. My eyes were glued to my phone, scrolling mindlessly through apps I didn't care about, just to avoid looking at him. My mind, however, betrayed me. His words from last night kept replaying in a loop, his voice slow and steady, telling me all those things he thought about me, and I didn't even know. It started as a drunk game during the night, but in the stark light of day, it felt real. I scrolled my phone, checking an email from a client, and as I read it, my temples throbbed, and I groaned, running a hand through my hair. "Annoying much?" "This is impossible. The client wants it perfect, but I don't even know what they mean by punchy, or what does that even mean?" He wandered over and dropped into the chair across from me, his usual smirk traded for something more serious. "Okay, let me see." I raised an eyebrow at him. "What? You're not exactly the target audience," I said, though I pushed my laptop in his direction anyway. Desperation makes you do strange things. He started scrolling, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the screen. His fingers tapped thoughtfully on the trackpad. This part, here," he said, pointing at a dense paragraph. "It's good, but break it into bullet points. People love lists. They feel smarter reading them." I blinked at him. "That actually makes sense." "Of course it does," he said, leaning back like he just won an argument. I stared at him, longer than I probably should have. There was something about the way he just stepped in. No teasing, no snark, just this quiet ease, like he'd known exactly what I needed. My chest felt warm, a little too warm, and I didn't know what to do with that. "Okay, time to go," I said, and he nodded. We headed towards the gym, one of our regular routine activities together, and by then I was already a mess, still couldn't figure it out. He carried on like usual, cracking jokes during sets and tossing me smug grins when he lifted heavier weights, but I didn't respond to any of that. My usual witty comebacks buried under the weight of his presence and the memories of his hands gripping my waist. Lunch with friends was worse. Caleb kept up his usual charm, cracking jokes and laughing at things that barely deserved a chuckle. But every so often, his gaze would drift to me, and lingered, like he was waiting for something. I wasn't sure if it was my nerves, or if everyone could see the tension between us, but the arrival of his toxic ex, Liam, didn't help. Liam breezed into the restaurant like he owned the place, all sharp confidence and polished charm. He was everything I wasn't, and I hated how much that mattered. They chatted in the corner while I pretended to mingle in our group conversations. Caleb's laugh was easy, but Liam's was louder, leaning closer with every passing second. They had a problematic ending, and Caleb's playboy behaviors didn't help with that. The next week, he was already with someone else, which only increased the feeling I craved myself, into only the hookup placement. We left for the beach late afternoon, and I only went along because saying no would have raised suspicions. I was the group's fish, so saying no to water was weird. Caleb stayed close, his shoulders brushing mine every now and then, enough to make me super aware of him, but not enough to feel intentional. Or maybe it was. I didn't know anything anymore. His words felt weighted, like he was waiting for me to crack. At sunset, I was done. My tension was at its peak and I bailed early, claiming I was tired from the hangover. By the time I got back to my room, I felt like I was dragging the weight of the whole day with me. My chest felt tight, like I'd been holding my breath all night watching Caleb and Liam's easy back and forth. Right after showering, I buried my face in the pillow, hoping the pressure might drown out the ache. A soft knock broke through the quiet. "Go away," I mumbled, my voice muffled. The door creaked open anyway. Of course, Caleb never listened. "No can do, buddy. I brought reinforcements." His voice was light, almost too cheerful, and when I peeked over, he was holding up my favorite ice cream and a bottle of sparkling water like some kind of peace offering. I rolled over with a sigh, eyeing him. "Bribery now? If it works." He set the ice cream and water on the nightstand, then perched on the edge of the bed. His usual smirk was gone, replaced by something softer, almost hesitant. "You okay?" he asked, his voice softer than usual, almost careful. "Yeah, fine," I mumbled. "Why?" He scratched his chin, his gaze steady. "You've been avoiding me all day." He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I know I have a reputation, but that's not who I am with you." I forced a casual laugh. "Guess you've got me all figured out, huh?" "Right," he mocked. I walked past him, my heart hammering, but I couldn't shake the way his eyes followed me, or the way my chest tightened with anxiety. I needed space and time to figure out what I was even feeling. A hot shower seemed to be the answer. A few minutes later, I headed out of the shower, still wrapped in a towel. I turned the corner too fast and nearly crashed into Caleb. He caught my arm to steady me, his grip firm and grounding. The moment our eyes met, my pulse went haywire. "Whoa, careful there," he teased with a smirk too familiar and too dangerous. "I'm fine, thanks," I said quickly, trying to step back, but his hands didn't let me go. His smirk widened. "You're still thinking about the bet, aren't you?" I cursed once I felt my cheeks burning. "Nope." He stepped closer, guiding me back until the counter dug into my spine. My breath hitched as his hands found my waist again, his touch burning into my skin. "I think I won," he murmured, his face so close I could smell the scent of his late smoke. My hand went up instinctively to push him away, but he caught my wrist. The intensity in his eyes was a challenge, and I felt like falling into a spider trap. "Caleb, I'm not drunk this time," he said softly, and the words laced me with something deeper. He leaned against me, slow enough to let me know what he was about to do. My heart thundered as his lips hovered from mine, and I panicked, stumbling back, slipping out of his grip with a nervous laugh and ridiculous reddish cheeks. "You think this is funny?" I said, stepping back and shaking my head. "What is this? Another one of your jokes? You've clearly already won once, dummy." He straightened, his expression shifting to something I couldn't read. "You tell me. You started this game." I felt my face flush, not from his words, but from how they struck too close. "It's not a game anymore," I muttered. If he heard me, he didn't let on. He sighed and walked past me, leaving me staring at the empty space he'd just filled. I didn't know if I wanted to jump on him again or run, but I only knew that nothing was the same after that night. This almost second kiss gave me the confirmation I needed, and I went to sleep as much confused as before. I was in love with him. Period. The answer was simple. For him, I was playtime. A week later, it all started with a laugh. Caleb's laugh. Warm and effortless, it spilt out in a way I'd grown used to thinking was meant only for me. I leaned against the doorframe, seeming casual, watching as he stood too close to our clearly hot neighbor, with his charm and annoyingly perfect hair. They chatted in the hallway like it was the best part of their day. Caleb touched his arms, I don't know why, and the sound of his laughter wrapped my chest like a vice. I turned away before I could watch any more of it. I started searching for something around the house to avoid the tight, ugly knot in my stomach. I kept the rest of the day balancing normality and acts of avoidance. My responses were shorter. I dodged his gaze during dinner and feigned exhaustion to escape early to my room. After dinner, by the time I escaped to my room with a fake excuse about being exhausted, I knew I wasn't fooling anyone. I was lying cozy and warm when I realized I forgot to grab some water, so I wandered into the kitchen and Caleb was already, or still, there. The sight of him leaning against the counter made my stomach flip. "Will you finally stop avoiding me?" he asked, his voice sharp enough to make me flinch. "I am not avoiding you," I muttered, grabbing a glass and filling it at the sink. "Bullshit," he said flatly, stepping closer. "You've been weird all week, all day," he emphasized. "You barely said 2 words to me during dinner, and now you're sneaking around at midnight? What is going on, Dylan?" "Nothing, Caleb. Just drop it, okay?" "No," he said firmly. "I'm not dropping anything. If I did piss you off, you need to tell me. I'm not a mind reader." I hesitated, taking a sip of the water. "It's not about you, okay? It's just my stupid brain," I lied, my pulse racing as I tried not to blush. Caleb didn't move. His gaze burned me, unrelenting. "Then why can't you even look at me?" His question hit like a punch, and I knew I couldn't dodge him any longer. I turned, my pulse racing more than I wanted it to. "I'm just processing the sight of you flirting with everyone who crosses your path," I said, louder than I wanted and also more exaggerated than I intended. He blinked in a mix of surprise and disbelief. "What are you talking about?" I pouted. "The next door neighbor?" I blurted, smiling and touching his hands like you're too close, laughing at him like he is the funniest person alive. Realization dawned on his face, and instead of the anger I expected, he laughed. A loud, disbelieving sound. "You're serious right now?" I cursed lowly. "Forget it," I mumbled, heat rising in my face. "It doesn't matter." "Dylan," he called me, his tone softening as he came closer. "That's just Adam. He is funny, and he was dirty with oil from when we were fixing his bike." I looked at him with an "are you serious?" face, and he raised a brow and grinned. "He's married, by the way," he added. I felt the heat rise in my face, but the knot in me didn't vanish. "Well, it didn't look like that," I muttered. Caleb sighed, running a hand through his hair. "And you think I'd just what? Forget about us and mess around?" My silence was too long, but after a while, I whispered, feeling completely defenseless. "There's no us. I'm just being a douchebag." He gave me only a sharp intake of breath, then quietly said, "Stop doing that." I ignored him, leaving the room as my feet were on fire. I couldn't deal with that, but I was obligated to accept things as they were. Later that night, after refusing to talk, he let me be, but I still felt an eerie stillness, like the calm before a storm. I could barely keep my eyes open, my body still buzzing with exhaustion from finishing the project. I was slouched on the couch, too drained to move when Caleb dropped beside me. "You're gonna crash if you don't go to bed," he teased, his voice light, but there was something in the way he looked at me that made me want to stay right where I was. "I'm too tired to move," I muttered, half dazed. Caleb chuckled and pulled a blanket over me, the warmth of his gesture almost enough to make me forget everything else. The rain drummed against the windows in the background, filling the room with a soft, steady hum as we sat silently. "You really helped me earlier," I mumbled, the words sluggish, "with the presentation. And, just being there. That's what I'm here for," Caleb said, his voice softer than usual. His tenderness caught me off guard. "I like taking care of you, Dylan. I like you." "Well," I chuckled nervously. "I know that, dummy. We've been friends for so long." He furrowed a brow. "It's not as simple as that." My doubts piled into my mind again, and I felt I couldn't escape that talk. My heart was hammering in my chest, and I could already feel the weight of everything I'd been avoiding. "Can we talk?" He shifted, moving closer. The tension in the air grew thick, almost unbearable. "About this?" he said, his gaze never leaving mine. "About us?" I laughed nervously, trying to deflect. "Us? This was just a bet, remember?" His jaw clenched, but there was no anger in it, just frustration. It was never just a bet for me. I froze, the doubt I'd been carrying for days threatening to break free. How am I supposed to believe that? I said, my voice cracking slightly. You're a playboy, Caleb. You flirt with everyone. You make people fall for you like it's some damn game. How do I know I was any different? I shook my head. Never mind. I shouldn't have even made that bet in the first place. Caleb looked at me for a long moment, his eyes searching mine as if trying to find a way past the walls I had built. It is different, he finally said, his voice low. Because I've never cared about anyone like I care about you. I felt my chest tighten. His words were exactly what I wanted to hear. But something inside me was still screaming, telling me I was just another conquest, another notch on his belt. Caleb, it wasn't, he interrupted. I love you. His voice was so raw that it took the air out of my lungs. I recoiled, my mind scrambling to process what he'd just said, and I had to fight the instinct to flee. What? I choked out, the doubt I'd been carrying suddenly crumbling to dust. What the heck did you just say? I love you, Caleb repeated, his voice firmer. There it is. I may be a playboy, but it was only because I never thought that we'd have a chance. His eyes softened, and he took another step closer. But that changed that night. I could feel it in my bones. Now answer me, just one thing. Did you regret it? The air became hard to breathe. My mind raced, a million thoughts crashing together. The bet was one thing, but I tried again the next day, he said, his voice tight. Did I cross a line, Dylan? Did I mess it up so badly? My stomach twisted, a mixture of confusion and guilt seeping into my veins. Do you really regret it? He repeated. I wish I did! But no, I can't stop thinking about it. About you. That night. Jesus. I groaned again, walking away from him as if that would help. I can't deal with how different things are now. I don't know how. Dylan. Caleb's voice interrupted my spiraling thoughts, soft but insistent. His tone held an edge of frustration, but it was different this time. Softer, quieter, almost pleading. He caressed my face with such tenderness, one I've never seen him show to anyone else. I've loved you for longer than I care to admit. And yeah, it scares the hell out of me too, he continued. His eyes and words were raw and vulnerable. But the thought of pretending this doesn't exist and watching you escape me for good, that scares me even more. I opened my mouth to argue and tell him everything that could go wrong, but he cut me off again. You're allowed to feel it was a mistake, to feel regret. But don't lie by telling me there's no us. Please, don't. My breath stuck in my throat, the weight of his words pressing against my chest. So, I said, my voice barely a whisper. What now? He closed the distance between us, still touching me with what I interpreted as love, his eyes never leaving mine. Now, he murmured, his voice barely above a breath. We stop pretending it's not there. His words echoed through me, and something in me shifted. The doubts, the confusion, they started to melt away. For the first time, I realized that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't lying. Maybe this wasn't a game. And then Caleb smiled. It was small, tentative, but real. My heart skipped, the weight of it all sinking into my bones. It was mutual. I wasn't alone in this, and I felt the tension slip away for the first time in days. I don't know if I can do this, I murmured, my voice shaky as I struggled to keep my composure. This, us, you are so important to me. What if I screw this up? We've built so much. We live together now. He interrupted me gently, his voice steady but warm. We'll figure it out. We always do, right? Hell, we even learned how to change the shower resistance together. I laughed despite myself, the tension in my chest easing just a little. "So?" I asked, my voice uncertain but hopeful. "Just to be clear, we're... we, right?" Caleb grinned, a real smile that lit up his whole face. "If you stop running, yes." I smiled back, my heart pounding in my chest. "Deal." And then I kissed him. It wasn't graceful or planned. It was messy, hesitant, but sincere. My tension and fear faded away as I delighted in his warmth. His grip was tight, as he didn't want to let me go, and that was enough to make me give in for good. His face was happy, the smile wide and open, the cheeks in a cute tone of pink. "Who's blushing now?" I teased. He chuckled. "We're tied then," he replied. "We are a disaster," I said, caressing his face back. "Maybe, but at least we're a disaster together," he said, and kissed me once more. Peace finally wrapped around my heart, but it still took me some time to realize that my best friend / roommate was actually my boyfriend. Settling into a relationship with Caleb wasn't as easy as I expected. At first, nothing much changed. Our teasing and banter stayed the same, but underneath, there was something deeper, a quiet intimacy we were both figuring out. Caleb surprised me. The once flirty playboy whose phone was always buzzing now spent nights cooking with me or debating IKEA furniture assembly. It wasn't dramatic, but the little things mattered, like how he silenced his phone when we were together or stopped brushing off emotions with jokes. Our rhythm was comforting, chaotic, and perfectly us. The end. Have you ever been afraid to change the dynamic of a relationship because it felt too perfect as it was? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our rainbow force. And stay wholesome.